Donald Trump's approval rating in poll after poll after poll, the last few months and weeks particularly, is bad, right? It's somewhere around 60% disapproving of how he's handling the job. But it gets even worse. It's worse than that when people are asked about his priorities. Not approval, but like 70% of people say he has not paid enough attention to the nation's most important problems. And we're seeing this play out in real life everywhere you look. I'm joined now by Jamelle Bouie, opinion columnist for the New York Times, where he writes about the alternate universe of Donald J. Trump. John Tester, who served as Democratic Senator from Montana for nearly 2 decades, now a contributor for MS Now. What a pleasure to have both you gentlemen here.
Great to be
Two
with
people
you.
I really enjoy hearing from. Let's start with you, Jamelle. This has flown under the radar a little bit, understandably. But it is the case that the president right now is boycotting the entire legislative process.
Yes.
I don't think anyone knows this unless he gets his sort of voter suppression law passed, which would imperil the voting abilities of tens of millions of women who've taken their husband's name, would basically get rid of mail voting, cause all sort of chaos in the system. He has posted saying, unless we get it, I won't be signing any. As president, I will not sign other bills until this is passed. And I can't think of a thing like more toxic politically in terms of priorities, right. Which is to go to voters and be like, I don't care about anything else. This is what I care about.
That's exactly right. The president throughout his entire term has shown almost total indifference to the things that got him elected. I keep on making this distinction in my own work. We always are obsessed with his core voters, the MAGA faithful, but he won the election not because of these core voters, but because of these key voters, people who are voting because of inflation, because of cost of living, because they want less chaos in the world. And he's basically ignored them entirely. This gambit of I'm going to hold my breath and pout until you do what I want is another example of him ignoring their priorities entirely. And I think it's contributed a great deal to his just collapsing approval rating.
There's this incredible quote, Senator, that I want to read you that comes from Punchbowl. Mike Johnson goes in to talk to him because there's sort of an interesting thing happening around housing, right? If you ask Americans across the political spectrum, there's a real problem with housing. The Senate just passed by overwhelming bipartisan majorities a bill co-authored by Elizabeth Warren and Tim Scott to try to essentially encourage more housing construction. I will note there's a part of it that I think is pretty suspect about basically banning single-family homes built to rent. We can talk about that later, but that's the deal. So Johnson goes in to talk to Trump about, like, maybe we should pass a big housing bill, put your name on it. And Donald Trump says, Trump told Speaker Mike Johnson in a private conversation this week that no one gives a bleep about housing. That's according to 4 sources who heard. Do you think it's true, Senator, that no one gives a bleep about housing?
No, I think everybody has a stake in this one because housing is too high. But what I really think this shows is you've got a president and administration that's not connected with the challenges that everyday Americans are dealing with every day, and small businesses and family farming and ranch agriculture. And it goes right down the list, whether it's housing or whether it's healthcare or whether it's tariffs. It doesn't really matter. He thinks things are just going along swimmingly. It might be because of his age, or it might be because he just never goes out and reads anything about what's happening in the real world. And when you have somebody that disconnected from the economy, and I will tell you, Chris, I think the economy is working really, really well if you're uber rich. But if you're
a Mar-a-Lago member or a Donald Trump golfing buddy,
if you're regular folks, it's tough out there. It's tough to pay the rent and buy the medicine and put the food on the table.
You know, your point there about the sort of confusion between what's the marginal voter that got him elected versus the MAGA core. It's perfect because Mark Dubowitz, who's a sort of big Iran war kind of neocon hawk who supports the war, posted polling to knock down the idea that MAGA is splintering on Iran, right? He says, MAGA is splintering on Iran. And then the polls. And what the polls show is that MAGA Republicans are supportive of Iran by 90%, 88%, 85%. This is then retweeted briefly by Caroline Leavitt and then unretweeted. And the reason it's unretweeted is because if you look at the same polling, it shows support for the war overall at like 41%. Right? So you have the White House press secretary bragging about the fact, well, who cares? 90% of our own people. And that to me perfectly embodies like where their head is on this stuff.
They don't seem to understand, I think on a very fundamental level, that they are not president of MAGA America. They are not president of
they
red
think
states.
they are.
They think they are, but the notion that they are president of the entire United States, that they have obligations to people who didn't necessarily vote for them, and that they have to be responsive to the broad public in a real way seems to escape them entirely. And I think the senator's point that the president seems disconnected from actual people. You don't see him. I was watching an old clip of Obama going to like Five Guys and buying some burgers, and it was fun and quaint and it was very nice. But it was striking because you haven't seen a president do that in a decade.
Yeah.
Right? Of just going out with regular people and like hanging out.
Yeah.
And this president in particular seems totally disconnected from actual ordinary people.
He's totally ensconced in this gilded world, which I think he enjoys quite a bit. The other concern I've been hearing, I did not know how much fertilizer ships through. I'm admitting, through Strait of Hormuz too.
Oh, really? Yeah,
And,
because of the energy.
right, and particularly because of the sort of chemical requisites for it.
Yeah.
It's planting season, and fertilizer prices have, everyone's talking about oil, but fertilizer prices have shot through the roof as well. And this is after a period where farmers are getting really battered.
Well, getting battered by the tariffs to begin with, and now you're pumping energy prices on top of it, which is a base element for the fertilizer. Input costs have gone through the roof. It's interesting. He not only is not connected with regular folks, but many of the same folks that voted for him and put him in office, he's had the most disdain for through his policies. And agriculture is one of them. I mean, farmers voted for him in really, really high percentages. And as one farmer told me, I didn't like Biden. I didn't like that dude. But I didn't lose my farm over Biden. I'm going to lose my farm over these policies from Trump.
I mean, I have seen, we've got farm foreclosure and we've got farm closing data that is really pretty ominous.
Yes, it's horrible. And more consolidation in agriculture is not good for food supply, not good for food security, not good for rural America. And quite honestly, hopefully the folks understand why this is the way it is. It's not because of insects, not because of drought, not because of disease. It's because of bad policies coming right out of the administration.
Final last 15 seconds. Do you think the argument that it's actually good oil prices are high is going to work?
Probably not, no. Highly doubtful.
I mean, at some level, I kind of sat back and was like, you almost have to admire. You do. You got to give a little grudging credit. Jamelle Bouie, Jon Tester, what a pleasure to have you both here. Thank you.